I've never been super into fighting games. I've played quite a lot of platform fighters, but more traditional fighting games have eluded me quite a bit over the years. I'd already heard of Guilty Gear, and I knew it was widely regarded as a good fighting game that was worth the time investment. So the knowledge that it's a good game with lots of depth, combined with some Leon Massey propaganda, made me and a friend buy the game to try it out. I had played a little bit of Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter, but realistically speaking, this was my first ever fighting game. At least the first time I'd actually tried to get into a fighting game. And it was pretty fun. I don't really have any criticisms of the actual gameplay. It seemed like everything that had been promised from all of the reviews and gameplay that I'd watched was true. It's a fighting game with cool combos and mix-ups or whatever, and it does a good job of that. The unbearable, over-the-top anime aesthetic and voice acting is something that I really, really hate, but, you know, gameplay's a priority, so all that stuff I can sort of put aside. But something that I can't really put aside is that I have no idea what's going on. Ever. Because as it turns out, Guilty Gear's tutorial is bad, actually. This game's tutorial did a very bad job at helping me actually understand what's going on in the game. It taught me how to move, vaguely taught me how to do combos and how to block, and it taught me about the game's unique mechanic that is Roman cancelling. Roman cancelling essentially allows you to spend some of your meter to cancel any move instantly, which can be good for extending combos and doing mix-ups. This is a good start, I guess. The game teaches you the very basics, and then it teaches you the cool, complex mechanic that is unique to the franchise. Great. Problem is, this is not where the depth of Guilty Gear ends. I played the tutorial, I played against some bots, then I started playing against a friend, and all was well until we were fighting and this happened. What was that? There's combo breakers in this game? I had literally no idea that this existed. There were countless times in the past 20 minutes of playing where a combo breaker would have been very useful to me, but I literally didn't know that it existed. Why is this not in the tutorial so that I can actually understand what is happening in your game? It's in the missions tab, apparently, and it's all the way down here at mission 21. Okay, I guess. There's also a mechanic called Faultless Defense, which is essentially a different type of block that spends your meter. You perform this special type of block by holding block while also holding 2 attack buttons, but not the dust or heavy slash buttons, for some reason. Faultless Defense stops you from taking chip damage. It also makes your opponent get knocked back further. It also increases block stun, and a whole bunch of other stuff. Again, this information is something I didn't know at all. It is hidden in the darkest depths of the mission tab. Mission number 16. There's also dead angle attacks, a useful way to escape pressure from your opponent. Mission 22. Some attacks daze you and you have to mash out of it with left and right on the stick. Mission 24. Blitz shield allows you to press heavy slash and another attack button with no directional input to deflect the enemy's attack. Mission 32. This list keeps getting longer and longer. The game technically tells you everything you need to know, but it's displayed to you in such an obtuse way. If they showed you all of this enormous list of things in the tutorial, then it would be too long. So I understand why they've put some of it in the missions tab. But there's some very simple, very useful techniques that were just left out of the tutorial mode. The combo breaker is extremely important to the basic fundamental gameplay of Guilty Gear, and it literally amounts to pressing 2 buttons whilst you're being hit. And they decided that the combo breaker wasn't important enough to be featured in the main tutorial. Now I can just imagine the die-hard Guilty Gear fans calling me a scrub and telling me to get good in the comments, so just hear me out for just a little bit. Look at this from my perspective, the perspective of a beginner. There's a tutorial that tells me quote unquote everything I need to know. But there's also these missions, with a bunch of more complex stuff discussed. The stuff in the missions is just as important, if not more important, than the stuff in the default tutorial. These missions are ordered seemingly at random, not in order of their simplicity, not in order of how important they are to the gameplay, and I have no idea which of these missions is actually worth doing and which of them I can skip. As a beginner, I have no idea where to start in this giant list of information thrown into my face. Because some of the things in these missions will be extremely important to beginners and experts alike. But some of these things aren't really going to come up in beginner level gameplay, are they? If I'm going to be fair to the tutorials in this game, what I will say is that the character specific tutorials are actually really good, because you don't have to learn about any of the other garbage of any of the other characters. You pick the character you want to learn about, and it tells you everything you need to know about them in difficulty order. These character-specific tutorials are pretty good, but the problem isn't with those. The problem is that the more generalised tutorials are formatted in such a way that makes it extremely hard to actually know where to start as a new player. In an ideal world, eventually I would complete all of the missions and understand all of the key concepts of the game, but I don't want to sit through a 3.5-hour lecture before I can actually start playing the game with my friend. I feel like the game could have done a better job at showing me what is and is not important as a beginner. Maybe some of this stuff on this missions tab could have been integrated into the main tutorial to help new players out. Or maybe just have these missions listed in importance order to the gameplay so that I know where to start and I know what's not so important. When I was reading the reviews of this game, a lot of them said that the tutorial is very good. And I kind of understand why people say that, because the game does technically tell me everything I need to know. But I would argue that the tutorial actually isn't very good. Not because the info isn't there, because it is, but because the way it's displayed to you is extremely unhelpful. I, as a beginner, have no idea what to prioritise learning, or what is too complicated to even bother with. This list just gave me choice paralysis, so I didn't do any of them. Which is a shame, because this game clearly has a lot of cool mechanics to master, but the design and layout of their tutorial system really hampered my enjoyment of this game. I could just barely get over the intense amount of anime cringe thrown into my face, but the tutorial system being designed like this was the deal breaker. Thanks for watching.